And this is the thing that gets me about Democrats, being one, is that there's not a pushback argument being made to say we don't need to close the borders. We need to open the flow of immigration into this country so it happens more quickly, more accurately, and more effectively. The answer is not to close the hole. The answer is to widen the path so that all people who should be immigrating into the country can easily and effortlessly and the most inexpensively as possible. That's what you want. So then you can spend all of these resources you want to spend making sure that people who shouldn't immigrate into the country don't immigrate. But what's happened right now is, but when you put up an enormously tight mesh in this metaphor, you don't get enough flow through, so you're getting a big backlog and a flood. The reason that there's so many people in line for their immigration is because it takes so long to immigrate. That's the thing. We need to open the flow. The whole argument, and my political campaign is going to rest on this.
Yeah.
It's going to rest on saying what we need is more immigration into this country. The immigration numbers are too low to fuel our economy in this country for the next 25 years. Birth rates are in decline.
Because you know what? Every good
needs more
economy is
people.
built on the back of low-paid immigrant workers.
Well, and it's also built on a flow of people, of working-age people into the workforce. What you want to do is to expand the working pool. It is so wrong-headed, so opposite of all the things we want our immigration policy to accomplish, to have quotas, limited quotas like we do, and a slow, arduous process. You want the opposite of that in order to benefit to have the benefits that you want. Here's an analogy. It used to be that when people had the kind of hip surgery that I had a year ago, they would say to the person, we need to have you in the hospital for 5 days. Then we don't want you putting any weight on it. We want to wait for the healing to start. And then you can slowly start to integrate regular activity.
Yeah.
That was the old storyline.
Right.
That's our current way that the Trump administration wants to talk about immigration. Slow it down, restriction, stop. The new way that when you have a surgery, the same day, literally the day of their surgery, they're like, up on your feet, start walking on that thing.
Yeah.
Movement and use is what's going to help your body respond. This is the same thing with immigration. What we need are more border crossing points, more freedom for people to enter the country, more work visas, and a better tracking system so people can come and go effortlessly and not get stuck in a loop by which their application to immigrate into the United States
Or like a
is
microchip
7,
or something?
10, or 15 years down the road. Like what's happening with some of these parents who get separated from the kids, the reason they're trying to now separate them is because what was happening in the past was someone would come in and ask for asylum, or they would come in and ask to immigrate. And they would be given an ankle brace and let free into the country with a court date set. They would
really?
come back. Yes. They would come back. It's what the Trump administration calls catch and release. So person would identify themselves or be caught, then they would have an ankle bracelet put on, then they would have a court date set. When they would go back for their court date, what the Trump administration tells you is they don't show up for their court date. That's not what's happening. They go back for their court date, and the court says, we're too full. We're going to postpone your court date for 6 months. Then they come back again. We're too full. We're going to postpone it another 6 months. People end up in a multi-year delay process to have their application for asylum or for immigration looked at. So now they're in this limbo period where they're technically not legal immigrants and then are called illegal immigrants in the country because the system cannot process them. So what the Trump administration says was, rather than doing that process, we're going to incarcerate them so they're not roaming free, because they thought this free roaming people who we haven't said yes to makes them illegal immigrants. That's what's been happening. So the answer to that is not to lock them up. The answer to that is to speed up the process of immigration. This is what Democrats don't talk about. We need to increase the number of visas, work visas given, the number of immigration green cards that are given. We need to increase the number of us, not go the other way. It's totally backward.
Yeah, it's hard to get a lot of energy to fund that stuff when you're talking about letting more immigrants in.
Do you know what it's cheaper than? $50 billion for a wall. Like it's like Freaky Friday with the Trump administration. They're just literally wrong on everything they do. From my vantage point, they're wrong on tariffs. I know that some of the Bernie Sanders supporters think they're right on tariffs. They're wrong on tariffs. They're wrong on the border. They're wrong on taxes. They're wrong on their tone. They're just wrong over and over and over. And some people say, why do you keep complaining about this? Well, because that's my role. I want to be the guy. I want to be the guy that people say,
Doug Pagitt.
I don't know a lot about this,
Gadfly.
but